Macros. So there was a new client team who I was helping out, and I realized that they had, I found out that they are building a lot of macros, VB scripts, which is fine. However, who's supporting this? Because how the automation works is you have the developers, but then you have a support team who support and maintain these builds once they're in production. And they have some very robust and mature governance around that. But the macros are just built, and then the team that are building it, if something goes wrong, they get an email and they fix it here and there when they get the time. So this led me to think of a few questions. Who in the team are supporting it? What happens if that person is on holiday? Is there any governance around it? Are there any support documents if that person left or was ill? Could someone else fix those macros? And also, most importantly, how business critical are the processes that these macros are on? So these are the questions that I wanted to understand. So what we did is we ensured that, so we found out that there wasn't actually any robust governance around how these macros were built and supported, and there was no documentation. Maybe some comments in the code, but that was about it. So we standardized the support document, very similar to what you would do in automation and RPA. Have a standard support document. This is what we want to see in a support document, so that if someone else was fixing the original code and they didn't build it, they would know exactly what to do. And we also made sure that the VB scripts were actually written in a way that was also standardized and clear and easy to understand and in the right structure. And then we also spoke to the support team because we wanted to understand, okay, is there anyone in the support team that could support the VB scripts? And unfortunately there isn't. So we needed to find a dedicated support person who would, or two people. We needed the backup as well. We needed someone dedicated to fixing any issues that came about, and that would go through a ticketing system, just like any other IT issue. And what we also did is we created a matrix, so we had all the different VB scripts that were out there or were getting built. We listed the processes that they are, and we did a RAG chart, a red, amber, green chart of how business critical these processes were. The other thing is anything that was considerable, any projects that they were looking to build for that were critical, we were stopping that and finding a better solution, preferably automation, which had a more robust and mature support and maintenance model. Because if someone's built a VB script, then they've just done it because they enjoy doing it and they can do it, and they've been asked to do it by the business. But then it may not have the rigor and there's no documentation. They may just build it for it to work. But if it breaks, no one can fix it. And that is really serious because things don't get done, processes don't get activated, and work doesn't get processed. And that could have more ramifications down the line as other processes that may be business critical reliant on the outputs of those macros. So the tools that we used: standardized support document. What's the trigger? What are the steps? What are the exceptions and known exceptions? How is it handling that? How is it notifying the business? Very similar to, we just basically repurposed the RPA support document. And then we repurposed the governance. So we had good release management. We had code reviews to make sure that someone could actually understand what was built and could fix it if needed. And we had these checkpoints. We made sure that the requirements of the business was captured in these in these VB scripts. And then we retroactively looked at the other VB scripts that were out there and we assessed them against our criteria and made sure that everything was documented. And going forward, we were checking that the automation was, the request for automation, be that RPA or VB script, was going through the correct avenue that we created. We created a funnel where you have an automation request form. They submit their requirements and we take it through the prioritization process, because as the automation team were generating more pipeline and getting busier, we had to be more strategic in what we worked on and when. Otherwise, a lot of their time would have been used up on VB scripts for little automation projects, and we weren't going to have the bandwidth for the large, high value, high return projects. So we had to make sure that this was all brought into the fold so we could prioritize these projects correctly. Just like you would do RPA, you'd collect the user stories, you'd collect the requirements, you'd create some kind of process definition document, and then VB script was just the tool of choice in order to deliver that business benefit. And that reduced the risk of anything breaking that didn't have any support around it. That was then taken care of. So I'm really interested to see if your business is using macros or they have use cases which a macro would be suitable for, and how you're handling that. And are your team, whoever's building these VB scripts, are they actually thinking about the support side? Because this is really important, because especially with VB scripts, it's something, it's a macro, it's just a quick fix, but it's not, but support is an afterthought, or maybe it's not a thought at all. So I just hope that I'll be interested to hear about your experiences of implementing VB scripts and what you actually think. Should it be VB scripts? Are there any other solutions out there, any technical solutions that are better? Is VB script, are there any use cases where it's better to have VB scripts than RPA? Is that actually a solution? Is there actually some use cases that fit that mold where it's best to get use VB scripts than an RPA robot? Because obviously there's it's a lot quicker. There's not as much overhead. You don't have to have a license to do this, like you have to have the infrastructure for running a robot. So really keen for you to share your thoughts. Again, you want to hear about the tools that we use, we'll put them in the links below. All right, you take care. See you in the next one.